to be made just out of baseball over the last few weeks in general, because it has been a relatively wild and crazy season. And I think that it's been just so interesting to gauge the landscape of teams progressing and regressing throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, the AL East has been the biggest, not surprise for me. We knew it was going to be a great division, but the fact that every team is over 500 there right now. And I believe the Toronto Blue Jays, who are in last place in the American League East, would be in first place, or at least tied for first place in the American League Central.
They
Don't
would.
quote me on that. But
They
yeah,
are.
it just shows how well the East is and how stacked that division is as a whole. We'll go to the Red Sox for a minute. I mean, they could finish fourth in the American League East and still make the playoffs. So really love what this division is and how competitive it is. The Baltimore Orioles have been fantastic too. I think the thing that goes under the radar, they're only 2.5 games back in the American League East right now, and they're still plus 1,200 to win the division on FanDuel Sportsbook at least, and that's fourth most likely. So the fact that they're getting disrespected the way they are still is pretty remarkable to me. But the AL East has been the biggest storyline I've seen.
Oh, absolutely. The AL East is absolutely awesome. And I mean, you've got some haves and have nots out there in the American League, because you mentioned the AL Central. You got the Detroit Tigers, the Kansas City Royals. You're able to go down the list. It's a little bit rough there. And I do think that this is going to be an interesting matchup, because we're going to stick with the Boston theme. The Red Sox and the LA Angels have a relatively tight line for Monday, as it's going to be Jaime Barria who's going to be getting the start for the Angels. Tanner Houck is on the bump for Boston, with Boston right around about even money, minus 105. The Angels are a slight favorite at minus 107 to minus 115 with a total of 9.5. What do you make out of this spot? Because I felt like the Red Sox should be a very slight favorite, with Tanner Houck getting a little bit unlucky if you look at his underlying numbers.
Yeah, Tanner Houck's one of the best starters that Boston has, and there's been talks about him moving to the bullpen, but I like him in the rotation. He's been pretty good, even though the ERA is not there right now. 5.48, again, adjusted ERA is a little lower there, but a 1.31 whip. He's got some things he has to fix, but overall, Boston is never going to win with pitching. We see it. I mean, today they were terrible. They got shut out. The offense didn't deliver, right? When the offense delivers for Boston, they're just fine, but they can't count on pitching to be successful. They got to get to Jaime Barria early in this game. He's been really good over 23 innings, 0.96 whip with a 1.96 ERA. I really like what he's been able to do in this Angels offense as a whole. But when you look at Boston, they are still the dominant offense in this game. They scored more runs. They got more hits on the season. They got a better OBP. They're slugging better. So I like the Red Sox here for the plus money. Anytime I can get plus money for the Red Sox against a pitcher that they can hit off of, it's worth taking. Another bet that's good with the Red Sox is their team total, because again, they win with offense, and they've gotten to a lot of really good pitchers this season. So keep an eye on that.
Yep, absolutely. And I do like this total over as well. As long as it stays below 10, I'm willing to take a shot there. So I feel like we're in relative lockstep. The Boston Red Sox have been tremendous on offense. And I know that you were mentioning the American League East as well. This one is going to be pitting two of the best in the American League East, the Toronto Blue Jays and the Tampa Bay Rays. It is going to be the old opener game for the Tampa Bay Rays, as it's going to be Trevor Kelly, who's most likely going to be getting the open for Josh Fleming. Meanwhile, Chris Bassett goes for Toronto. And with Toronto, they're only about plus 105 in this spot. And for Bassett, he has pitched in his last three starts 24 scoreless innings. I think that that's going to be coming to an end here. I do think that he's doing for a little bit of regression. Not sure how you view this game, but it's been rather remarkable what Bassett has done, but it's just not sustainable when I take a look at the way that he has been pitching this year, allowing so many walks, and his strikeouts are down.
So last week in the American League East, the Blue Jays were plus 270, projected to finish second. Now they're back to tied for second with the New York Yankees at plus 500. So their odds have gotten a lot longer. They're only 4-6 in their past 10 games. So I don't really like how Toronto has been playing. Even with Trevor Kelly on the mound, I'd probably lean towards Tampa Bay in the spot. Again, it's going to be a bullpen game. They're going to get a lot of guys out there that can throw. And that's tough for Toronto because of how successful this Rays bullpen has been this season. I think the biggest story of the season for Tampa Bay right now is Yandy Diaz, the way he's been hitting, 11 homers, 329 average, 27 RBIs, really been delivering. To go with Wander Franco and Randy Arozarena, guys that we knew were going to deliver this season. So Tampa Bay is just too strong in my mind to go against them here. It's one of those teams like the Braves, I would say, even if they don't have a great pitcher on the mound, even if the matchup isn't ideal, they're still good enough to overcome that because of their offense, and I like Tampa Bay here because of that.
And I'm so glad that you mentioned the Braves. As joining me on the show, we do have Tanner Kern. He does great work over at DraftKings, and the team that has been getting steamed the most on the board is the Atlanta Braves. They open up as a minus 115 favorite, as it's going to be Charlie Morton on the bump for them, going up against young Gavin Stone, making his second career start with the LA Dodgers. That's a great name, by the way. But that said, with the Atlanta Braves, they go from being about a minus 115 favorite to now between about a minus 150 to a minus 160 favorite. And I think we're getting to a point of no return. With Gavin Stone, I'm not necessarily too impressed by him. Charlie Morton has honestly been much better this year, but with the LA Dodgers, the way that they're able to put up runs aplenty, you're probably going to need to correlate this a little bit with an over if the Dodgers are going to be able to get there, but I think that this number has just went a little bit too far. I thought there was great value on the opening with the Atlanta Braves. Now I think that's dried up.
Yeah, I'm going to take a little bit of a different pivot here. I'm going to go with the Braves team total over, just because you look at Gavin Stone making his second big league start. He was welcomed to the show by the Blue Jays. In 4 innings, he allowed 8 hits with 4 earned runs and a homer. If that happened, or not the Blue Jays, the Phillies, I mean, if that happened against Philadelphia, it's going to be pretty bad against Atlanta, in my opinion. So I think there is value. There was value on the Braves, at least on the money line here. I don't see that value right now just because of how juiced the line is. But for the team total, the Braves are going to hit the baseball. So I would even take an alternate team total, go up a run, just because I think the Braves are going to be able to get to Gavin Stone here behind Matt Olson and Ronald Acuna. So that would be my best play here.
Yep, absolutely. I'm right there with you. I do think that the Atlanta Braves on the open, there wasn't a lot of value, but if you're still looking to fade Gavin Stone, taking a look at team total over, taking a look at the 9/9.5 over, I do certainly advocate for that. Pretty much anything below a 10. I think that you're getting a relatively solid number there, and this is something very strange. A team's ERA is less than the full game total, or it is more than the full game total. And by that, I mean the Oakland A's have north of an 8 ERA on the road. They are facing off against the Seattle Mariners, and their total in this game is anywhere between 7.5 and 8. Once again, you probably want to be doing more research and be like, oh, the 2 starters ERA is more than the total. Let's take a look at the over. But with that said, I just take a look at this Oakland A's team, and I don't think that they're worthy of having totals of 7.5/8 on the road until they prove to us otherwise. I'm not sure how you view this one, but I like the over.
I like the over as well. When you look at both these offenses, they're pretty even on paper. The biggest advantage here for the Mariners is the fact that they're going against a pitching staff with an 8 ERA on the road. I am a little concerned with how Oakland's going to deal with Luis Castillo. He's been pretty good this season, 3.3 ERA. The whip is what I really like, though, 1.05 whip, 58 strikeouts over 51 innings with just 11 walks. He's not going to give you a lot of free passes. And the Oakland A's are a team that can take advantage of those free passes because they do get the big hit occasionally, but they do have trouble putting runners on base. The reason to take the over here is because Kyle Muller's on the mound, 1-3 with a 7.7 and a 1.95 whip. He has been horrendous, 42 innings, 61 hits allowed with 21 walks. So there's your reason to take the over right there. There's your reason to take the Mariners team total. Again, both offenses are relatively even on paper, but the Mariners are going to have a much easy time hitting Muller with Julio Rodriguez, Eugenio Suarez, and Jared Kelenic. All these guys are going to feast off him, where I can't say the same thing about the A's lineup against Luis Castillo.
And I do think that for Seattle, they do have quite a few guys that have been underachieving towards the beginning part of the season. I think that they're going to be able to progress. Someone like Colt Wong, he's never hit below 248 in the last 6 seasons. He's hitting below the Mendoza line of 200. You got to feel like that's going to be going a little bit northward. And a man that is always on point, a man that is always firing on all cylinders, that'd be you, Tanner. You do amazing work at DraftKings. Looking at football, basketball, baseball, you name it, you do it. Always appreciate the time, my friend. Thank you so much.
Greg, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.